All right, good afternoon out east and good morning here on the West Coast, coming to you live from Los Angeles on this beautiful morning, the first day of spring. Welcome to Gateless Live. I'm Steve Moffett, Chief Marketing Officer of the Guaranteed Rate Companies, and we're really excited to continue to bring insider tips and tricks of the trade to the real estate community, brought to you from the best of the best. Before we get started, I want to mention that you, the viewer, have the opportunity to ask questions. So feel free to find the chat box, the Q&A box in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and you can ask questions throughout the segment that we'll get to toward the end. Today we're really fortunate to be joined by Mauricio Umansky, founder and CEO of the agency. Mauricio, welcome to Gateless Live.
Steve, thank you so much. It's great to be here with you guys, and looking forward to having some fun and hopefully giving some insights to a lot of our viewers out there. So ask your questions. We're looking forward to some good ones.
Absolutely.
The tougher you make them, the happier I am.
So, Mauricio, you lead one of the most dynamic real estate brokerages in the country. Individually, you're responsible for over $400 million in volume. You're consistently ranked in the top 10 of Wall Street Journal's Real Trends report, I think 7 years in a row and counting, right? So, wow, you're killing it.
The results haven't come out this year, but we'll see where they come out.
I
feel good about myself this year.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
no, it's been a good run. It's been a tough run, and it's all about just keeping it going and never stopping.
Take us back to the beginning, back in 11 when you decided to launch the agency, and really the vision was to redefine and disrupt real estate. How did you get started?
Well, it came from a little bit of a frustration level in terms of what was going on in the brokerage community. And all of a sudden my eyes popped open, back in 2008. Everything happens for a reason in life, right? And it's very funny that my grandfather, when I was very young, taught me to always, not be the smartest guy in the world, but buy low and sell high, right? And when the recession happened in 2008, at the end of 2007, 2008, I wish I had the opportunity to buy a whole bunch of real estate. I didn't have that kind of money. But I thought to myself, well, what is it that I can do in order to make myself and differentiate myself right now to improve? And one of the things that I did is I started spending a ton of money on advertising. And if you opened up the LA Times or the newspaper or anything that you opened up, I was the only guy in my market that appeared or had the perception that was selling, because I was the only guy that was advertising. Literally, you opened up the LA Times and it was 8 pages wide and they were all mine, right? So what ended up happening is I started to develop all of the business in the city. And that's what led me to become the #1 agent in California. When I became the #1 agent in California that year, I was the #7 agent in the country. And when I saw that there was only 6 more spots to go, then I said the techniques that we've used to get there are teachable, they're repeatable, they're different, and that was kind of the beginning of the genesis of the agency, or the genesis in my mind of the creation of the agency. The way that the brokerage firms were advertising back then was very archaic, and I worked for a company, Hilton and Highland, and there's companies all over the world, all over the nation that are named or after the owners of the company. And if those owners are selling brokers and you're paying for advertising dollars and you're advertising yourself and them, then you're advertising somebody else, and you're advertising them with your dollars. Yep. And as an agent, that was very frustrating to me. So we wanted to create an agency that was very generic. Right? I was in the shower one day and I'm like, God, generic. Well, the agency, there's no way the agency's available. And I'm looking online and I'm like, the agency. And I'm like, holy cow, like I can start the agency, right? And so that was kind of the birth of the name, the agency. Yeah, it came from a good dream in the shower.
So many good ideas do, don't they?
So many good ideas do, yeah. And so then, then from there it was a frustration that the techniques and that were teachable and repeatable was a frustration in the archaic way that the brokerage firms were working. And what happened was that they were working with very low advertising, giving agents a tremendous amount of high splits. And not that that's bad for the agents. If I'm an agent, I like that, but I don't really like that if my brokerage firm is not able to give me services, research, marketing, creativity, innovation, that are all of these things that make me better. And how better to pay for all of those things than by pooling a group of people together and then getting all of those services for yourself. And that's in essence what the agency is, right? So it's people that understand that I can deliver better service, higher class of innovation, better ways of telling stories, right? Because selling is all about storytelling. Selling is not about 4 walls, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a granite countertop, et cetera, et cetera. It's about storytelling, right?
You're selling a lifestyle.
You're selling a lifestyle, right? And what better way of doing all of that than by, rather than getting a 90% split, getting an 80% split or a 70% split. And that's going to be a lot less dollars out of my pocket if I pull them together with a whole bunch of other agents in order to create an amazing branding team, in order to create an amazing, systems that then now my consumer ultimately benefits from. And if my consumer benefits from it, then I, as the agent, benefit from it.
Sure.
Right? So very similar to the way that Richard Branson still flies people from point A to point B. He changed the experience of flying, right? And so what we decided to do was in real estate was we still sell a house, we still broker a house, but we changed the experience in the way that you broker the house from every aspect, from an agent's aspect, from a consumer's aspect, from every single aspect.
It's fascinating, particularly as a business strategist and marketing guy, that you were aiming for genericism, right? In your branding. Sometimes the craziest ideas can be the best ones.
Right.
So you set out on this vision, 7, 8 years ago. How has that kind of evolved over time? How has the plan changed? Have there been kind of some surprises, some twists and turns along the way?
Well, I'd have to lie to you if there wasn't surprises and twists along the way, but I can also tell you that pretty much the way the plan was set up is the way that it is today. As an agent or as an entrepreneur or as anybody, it's always a question of whether or not you open the opportunity of a door. You arrive at a fork in the road, and there's 2 doors to take, and the door's open, and the question is, are you the gentleman that opens the door and then enters, or does fear stop you from entering the door, right? And so every time there was an opportunity in terms of our growth and in terms of what we were doing, and that door opened for us because of whatever reason.
Yep.
We opened it, we entered the room, and we looked for the next room.
Yep.
Even if the room is a mistake, okay, it's a bubblegum pink room, right? And it's ugly and it looks like I Dream a Genie inside the bottle. You can still get out of that thing. All you need is somebody to rub the bottle, and you puff yourself right out, right? And you have to make your decisions with certainty. I believe that if you have doubt in your decisions, you will never do well. So everything that we've done, we always made our decisions with certainty, right or wrong. We made them, and we follow them to fruition.
I think that's good advice. It's something we talk about a lot at Guaranteed Rate, the importance of playing offense versus playing defense.
Right.
And just being aggressive and trusting in yourself. Right?
You have to.
Yeah. So fascinating accomplishment. Not only the #1 agent in California, but the agency here in Los Angeles has, I think, over a 20% market share.
I think we're right around that 20% mark. I don't follow those type of things because I never like to put down other agencies. Okay. I don't like to put down our collaborators, our colleagues. I don't even call other agents competitors. I call them all colleagues. I believe we all have to work together. Yeah. That's kind of my philosophy. Deal, right? 100%. Yeah. So yes.
I've heard you talk about the importance of reputation and kind of operating by a set of core values. Talk more about that.
Reputation is everything. Integrity is everything. You can. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes a second to destroy it, and then it takes a lifetime to rebuild it again. Okay. And one of the things that I teach everybody that works for us is to have integrity, to work with ethics. I know you're going to make a mistake. Okay, people, we do. We all make mistakes, but that is not what destroys a reputation. It's how you deal. It's right. It's how you deal with those mistakes that elevate you or bring you down. And we work with a core group of a core set of rules in our world. Our rule #1, as everybody knows, and we've talked about it, is that we have no right. And if you define our culture, they're defined almost by our first 2 rules. Rule #1, no. Rule #2, we like to have fun. And that, in essence, that's the culture of the agency, and the collaborative and work together and all of that, kind of thing. I can actually read you all our rules. I got them right here.
Oh, cool. Well, while you're finding the page, what was kind of the inspiration for those core values? Was it something you kind of grew up with, or something you kind of talked about with?
No, it's all business
or-
philosophies, and it's, I think that the key is setting a set of rules that people understand how, what rules you're playing by. Because if you can understand what rules you're playing by, you can have a lot more fun, and everybody can play in the sandbox the same way. Actually, they're all at the end. It's a different photo. I'll have to do it. But if you read the Zappos book, Tony Hsieh, he always talked about, his core values and creating a culture in a company. And sometimes it's very difficult to create cultures in a company because people don't understand what a culture even is, right? I think that's kind of the biggest, problem. I remember I was at a seminar, and one of the CEOs to one of our colleagues, another one of the, the brokerage firms, and it was all about starting to create culture. We were just born. We were born, 2 or 3 years. We were making a lot of noise, and she gets up and she raises her hand and she says, to the person on stage, how do you create culture? If you're asking that question, you're already not creating culture.
Right.
You're already not understanding what culture is, right? And that's kind of the key to this thing. So I think if you live by a set of rules, those set of rules innately start creating a culture within the business. So collaboration is one of our rules, right? Dare to dream is another one of our rules, and all of these rules start creating the culture of the business. And when you can have a culture and everybody plays in the sandbox together, you can really create a really great company.
That's terrific. What do you hope to be known for in the marketplace amongst your colleagues, as you say?
An innovator, a disruptor, an ethical man, building a company through integrity, and I would say those, creativity. All of our employees and our agents and everybody knows. I keep talking about this. Dare to dream, dare to make mistakes. I believe that we had our chief marketing officer back about 5 years ago came up to me, and I asked him a question, and he said to me, he started answering the question, and he answered it by saying, what you want to hear is, blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, if you ever tell me what I want to hear again, you're fired. I said, the reason you work at this company is because of your brain, and because I want to know what's in your brain. If I want to know I know what's in my brain. I want to know what's in your brain, and then we'll make a decision where in between, what direction we go in between both of our brains, right? And so I think that's one of the key pieces, is allowing your people to be innovative, allowing your people to dream, right? And if you allow everybody that works at a company to do what they do best, and to dream and to create and be creative, now again you start creating a company that everybody talks, everybody collaborates, and now you start really creating amazing things. I mean, when we get together in our company and we start having brainstorming sessions, we have meetings every month with different groups. We have groups of young people, young innovators, young agents. We have groups of kind of the older crowd. We have the woman at the agency, and basically it's all brainstorming groups that the idea is to get inside a room and literally just start coming out with crazy ideas. And sometimes they are really crazy, and we just laugh about them and we don't do them. And every once in a while, we come up with an amazing idea.
That's great insight. It's been said often that kind of diversity of thought and background is important for that tension to create true innovation, right? Versus just having too much kind of like-minded thought, right? And it's that healthy tension, right, that creates true innovation and true creativity.
100%. And one of the ways to get it throughout the company, one of the things that we have is we've created our own CRM system, and it's really grown from a CRM system to an ERP system, which is quite incredible. But one of the ways that everybody stays connected is through that system. And in essence, it's a Facebook for the company, right? So that everybody knows what's going on. We come up with a crazy idea. We want to innovate. We want to change something. We want to come up with a new ad. We all congratulate each other when it's everybody's birthday. We congratulate each other when somebody makes a great sale. And everybody knows. The people in Park City know when that occurs. The people in Danville, California know when that occurs, and in Punta Mita. And because of that system, everybody's able to kind of stay in touch, and we're able to maintain a true culture throughout the entire company. And as we grow, we're able to maintain that culture because of that system.
That's terrific.
I actually heard, I got to rag on these guys a little bit, but Compass just raised $800 million, right?
Saw that.
And I think that's incredible, by the way. I mean, kudos, right? From SoftBank at a $2.8 billion valuation. But one of the things that I just loved about it was, and I just, chuckled a little bit, is that, Robert Refkin gets up there and he gets on stage and he says, what we're going to do with all this money is that we're going to be in 20 markets. We're going to control 20% of 20 markets by 2020. Like that's his pitch, what he's going to do with his $800 million. And then he goes on to say, he says, and the way we're going to do that is by building a CRM, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, well, I already have one of those things, right? And so I guess I should be worth $4.5 billion. Right. I don't know. I mean, but it just gave me a good little chuckle.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you both.
Whatever, it's all good.
Yeah.
I just love it. When somebody else validates what you're doing, you just feel good.
Right.
I guess that's really the message I'm trying to say by that.
For sure. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about your clients, your customers, right? So real estate is sort of more competitive and dynamic than probably any point in history, right? And you're a busy guy. How do you maintain focus on your customers so that you deliver the most value, right? How do you kind of learn what is most important to them so that you can kind of pair your services to their needs?
Teamwork. You need to be able to delegate, teamwork. You need to be able to listen. You need to be able to pay attention. You need to be able to read between the lines. You need to be able to understand what the client's looking for. Reading a room on a client is everything. It's not about, we all have the saying, buyers are liars, right? They say, I want a cottage with ranch-style, shabby chic cottage, and before you know it, that's not really what they want. They actually end up buying an amazing contemporary modern house that has absolutely nothing to do with what they say they wanted.
Yep.
Right? And the ability to read a client and to read between the room, read the room, I think, is critical in order to be a successful real estate agent. Having no fear. Again, I say that. When I say that, I told the story yesterday about Kelsey Grammer, the way I met, Kelsey Grammer. And I think I've told this story before, but it's been 5-6 years since I told it, so I'll tell it quickly again. Kelsey Grammer and I had been on separate sides of 2 transactions, and we were in the middle of a 3rd transaction, and one of my clients, at the end of the escrow, canceled the escrow. Kelsey was very upset. I had never done anything with Kelsey and Camille, and all of a sudden I'm on the golf course, I'm on the 14th hole, I get a phone call, I don't recognize the number, I let it go to voicemail, I listen to the voicemail, and it says, Mauricio, Kelsey Grammer here. He goes, you're a piece of He goes, I can't think of words that are beneath you. You are lower than the lowest. What is the lowest thing? Is scum the lowest thing on the planet? No, you are lower than that. And it goes on and on and on and on. And I'm, really sweating pellets. I don't know how to act. I mean, this is a very important man in the world. I'm a relatively new agent. And so what I decide to do is I decide to pick up the phone. I now have his number for the first time in my life. I decide to pick up the phone. I call him up. I go, Mr. Grammer, may I please come and see you and explain what happened? I think there must be some sort of a misunderstanding, rather than running away.
Sure.
Right? Most people, the deal's over. There's nothing else to be said.
Right.
I guarantee you 99.9% of the agents would probably have just never picked up the phone again and just would have gone and crawled into bed and been depressed for 5 days, right? And what I did is I picked up the phone and I called them. I went to go see them. I talked to them, for him and Camille, for an hour and a half. They ended up becoming my clients. I ended up selling their house, in Beverly Park for $24 million 3 weeks later. And now, Camille Grammer, is a friend and on the show, and we've had, a tremendous amount of friendship ever since then. But it's taking an adversity and turning it into a positive, and that's one of those characteristic traits that agents need to have in order to take care of the clients, that to grow in the business.
That's a great story. And emblematic of the fact, I think, that buying and selling a home can be stressful, right? It's a very personal thing. There's a lot of money at stake, right? And so how, kind of what are some of the common pain points that your clients might experience through that sometimes stressful, process that you and your agency can help with?
As a real estate agent, you have to be an advisor to the client, and you have to be a psychologist, and you have to be able to listen, and you have to be able to, again, read between the lines and understand every aspect of it. Keep in mind that for the most people, this is probably one of the most important transactions of anybody's life, right? They're taking out the largest loan they've ever taken out. They are stressed beyond belief. They're putting up, more money than they've ever put out in their life. They're hoping they're making a good investment. They're hoping the real estate market's going to keep rising and that they're not going to, get foreclosed on 6 months later. As a seller, you get an offer and that offer is never high enough. You feel insulted that offer, how can you bring me this offer then? And, the guy's insulting me. How can this happen? As a buyer, you're asking your real estate agent to number one is to do the best negotiation possible for you to get the house at the lowest possible price. But by the same token, in this world that we've been living in the last few years, which is all these multi offers, a whole bunch of offers on these things, you're also asking your real estate agent to make sure he gets you that house, because you may not have a house if you don't, if he doesn't get it. So drawing that line, it's a tremendously difficult relationship, and it's our job, in order to get referrals and in order to grow, is to really walk our clients and our people, both the buyer and seller, through that process. Then you inspect the house and then you find things that are wrong, and you're a buyer and you're like, should I be buying this house? The laundry machine doesn't work. And the seller is like, I sold him my house. I told him I wasn't going to negotiate anymore, and who cares if the roof's falling apart? So it's a very stressful period, and I think that we're not only salespeople. I think we're much deeper than salespeople. We're advisors, and we're psychologists. And the better you do that, the better salesman you're going to be.
Yeah. You mentioned Kelsey Grammer, right? And the fact is, you've sold more $20+ million homes than any other agent on record. What can you share, if anything, right, about some of the most famous homes in the world that you've sold, right? The Playboy Mansion, kind of celebrity, high-profile clients like Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Kim Kardashian.
I've gotten an opportunity to probably work and meet some of the most incredible people on the planet, and it's just an honor, and it's so much fun to do that. And yes, the Playboy, selling the Playboy Mansion, I mean, what an honor it was to have received that mandate. To be able to show that house and walk it, like I just wanted to be there all the time, and I almost didn't want it to sell because it was just so much fun to just show it and to be part of history and tell those stories. And the thing about real estate is that you do become part of history, and again, that's where I go back to the storytelling. If you start telling those stories through the history, because of people always say, if walls could talk, well, you are the voice to those walls, right? I have a very, kind of a funny...
Those walls probably have more stories than many others, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you're a spiritual guy, and, I don't know if anybody listening is a spiritual person, but I've always been very skeptical, and, I've had great experiences with lots of different people, but Michael Jackson is certainly one of those people that I've had great experiences with, and I've shown him lots of homes, and in one of the homes, there was amazing acoustic area that we were talking, and he literally took 3 steps forward. He realized the acoustics were great. He took 3 steps back, walked right back to this acoustical spot, literally just started singing a cappella, which was probably one of the most beautiful stories, and things I ever got to witness, and it was just amazing. But having said that, I leased him the house that where he passed away. And if you're a spiritual guy, he was there for a while. I don't know if he's still there, but he was there for a while. And I would close up this house, and I was in charge of it as I was selling it. And I would close it up, and I would turn off all the lights. And, he spent a lot of time in his master bedroom and on his balcony. And I would get to a showing the next day, and the lights would be on and the music would be on, and I'd be like, and I'd kind of freak out, and I'm like, I 100% turned off the lights, and I 100% turned off the music. And so now it started to become kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, when I leave today, I am quadruple checking, that I did this right. And, and I'd walk out and I'd park and I'd walk back in. I'm like, it's off. And I'd walk out and I'd finally leave. I'd come back the next day and the music would be on. Wow. The lights would be on. And literally became kind of this little game, and fun thing that I would have. But as we were selling the house, the chandelier that goes down, it's a gorgeous chandelier, and it goes all the way down, and that's how you clean the chandelier. And the buyer of the house was a good friend of mine. He still is a good friend of mine. But he says to me, he says, the chandelier is it's broken. I'm not closing escrow. And this was in the recession. I'm just pulling my hair. I'm like, how am I need to what do you mean you're not closing escrow? We're closing escrow. He says, no, the chandelier's broken. He goes into the master bedroom, and I literally turn around and I go, Michael, help me. Okay. And I go into the thing, I come back out, and there's a switch that moves the chandelier up and down in order to clean it. I literally go to the switch, and I pull it, and it goes up, and it goes down, and it goes up. And I go, it's fixed. He goes, well, how'd you fix it? I go, I don't know. It's fixed. We're closing escrow tomorrow.
So that moment in the bathroom, would you say you were talking to the man in the mirror?
I would say we were talking to the man in the mirror, baby. I like that. You got to do it. You had to go, Steve. I love that. I'm going to steal that one from now on.
So, you work with a lot of high-profile clients in high-profile, properties. Also, some quote-unquote regular folks.
Sure.
Is one kind of easier than the other, or are they all kind of the same? Humans kind of have the same interests.
Humans are humans. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're dealing with. I mean, I would say that, perhaps celebrities are a little bit tougher to work with, not because of themselves being celebrities, but because you're working with their attorney and with their business manager and with all these people, and all those people want to prove themselves and make sure that they do their job. And so the transaction just becomes a lot more difficult in order to, dot the I's and cross the T's. But at the end of the day, everybody's the same. I mean, I know we all look up at, to celebrities, and we all, look up to all these people, but, these are all regular human beings, and they're great people.
So median home value, we mentioned you've sold more 20 million plus homes, than anybody else. Median home
I think
value,
I've sold more $100 million homes than anybody else too.
Have you? All right. Around the U.S., median home value is somewhere between 200 and 250,000. Even in Los Angeles, which is much higher than the country at large, 700,000 is about the median home value, a far cry from 20 million. Would you say that there are kind of different challenges associated with some of these higher end properties than kind of the average home as we talk to kind of real estate agents around the country?
I mean, look, the higher end homes, I would say that the financing is not as much of a challenge. So I think that having great people like yourselves, with guaranteed rate and helping and advising buyers, that are having, I think financing is the most difficult part of the purchase of the home in terms of the reality of life, okay? Unless you just have all the money in the world, right? Which is the people I get to sometimes deal with, and I don't know what all the money in the world even means sometimes. But I think having your financing in order, having a great advisor, and is critical to that part of the segment. And I think, you guys are definitely the top of your game and probably one of the best. So anybody that's going out there should definitely be using you.
Oh, appreciate you saying that. Yeah. Any impact you've seen with kind of the uptick, the slight uptick in rates or the new tax laws?
I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the world, more than anything, from the perspective of the impact of the tax laws. I think, and particularly in California, not being able to use the property tax as a write-off. There's just uncertainty on what that really means to your bottom line. I think at the in 2019, when everybody started seeing, Trump did do a lot of other cuts, the interest rates going up, there are other cuts, and I think when we start seeing, when we start giving our returns, and we actually start seeing, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? That's when we're going to finally start understanding. But there were a lot of other cuts. There were some other parts that were not cut. And I think the biggest problem right now is just not knowing and the uncertainty of the world in terms of what that really means to all of us in terms of our bottom line.
Yep. Amen. You mentioned kind of reality TV earlier. I have to ask. You're married to Kyle Richards, a lovely woman.
Kyle Umansky in my house.
Sorry,
but yeah,
Kyle,
I'm joking.
Kyle Umansky, a lovely woman who my wife welcomes into our home on a weekly basis by virtue of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which you also appear on. What impact has the show had on your business, and how have they kind of crossed over?
It's had great impact. I mean, I think, one of the reasons why we've been able to tell our story and to innovate and to be disruptive in our life is because a lot of people get to watch. Instead of us paying for advertising on television, we have advertising on television, we have a voice, we have something. So for us to pretend that that show has not helped the agency and my business and her business and everything is, would be unfair. The Real Housewives has definitely had a tremendous amount of impact in terms of bringing the brand recognition throughout the world. I mean, I think it airs in 157 countries, plus or minus. I'm not 100% sure, but you run around with your agency hat and people recognize the brand because of television and because of the Real Housewives. And it's certainly not because, I'm not taking away anything from what the agency does, okay? We do amazing things, we're disruptive, we do incredible things, but it is not because of the amazing things that you walk down the street in Paris and somebody recognizes the agency brand. It's 100% because of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
It's good perspective. It's a team effort.
It is 100% a team effort.
Yeah, kind of in that same vein, as sort of leaders in marketing, innovation, and outside the box thinking. What are some of the kind of game changers that you've implemented from a marketing perspective or an innovation perspective that have been successful?
Well, one of the things that we're doing now for agents, and I think it's extremely important, is the off-market listings, the pocket listings. And it's the pocket listings are a critical part of our life, and we just started a new company. I started it with my partner Chris Dyson in order to try to service the agents, and in order to try to service, you get flooded with all these emails every single day of an off-market listing, or what we call pocket listings, right? And we get them, and it's like, how do you aggregate them? How do you keep them all together? What is all of that about? And so what we've done is we've created a PLS.com, the pocketlistingservice.com. And this is a tool that we use often. It's a phenomenal tool. It's basically it's the MLS for pocket listings. That's basically what it is. And it allows you to keep a database and aggregate all of the information that we all wish that we could have in our heads or on an Excel spreadsheet, and it just has it out there. And it's a brand new business that we just launched. The idea of launching it is really just to make agents' life better and to make and to aggregate all of these listings that as agents we all wish we had, in order for us to be able to make just that one more sale a year or those 5 more sales a year, because that could be the difference between a mediocre year and an amazing year, right? And we have north of 5,000 members already. I think it's like 5,200 members. We have north of 500. We have north of $5 billion of inventory.
Wow.
on there, and it's growing, and we're just having a ton of fun. So I think that's one of those great tools. From a marketing perspective, we like to take a lot of different chances. Digital marketing is really what it's all about. Social media. Print marketing is a little bit tougher nowadays. There's still that medium that is required, but the digital marketing is critical. The artificial intelligence, if you can really start getting into that whole world of AI and being able to push the right ad to the right person, and it's hard. Nobody in real estate is really doing it yet. We all pretend we're doing it. I think we're one of the guys that's actually doing it. But that's kind of one of our next disruptive things. Virtual reality. We want to start building virtual reality rooms in all of our offices, so that we can actually start seeing some of the properties before they're built and as they're being built, and really understanding what it is to walk through some of these things. And so I think part of all of that is part of the innovation that we're working on.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the dynamic kind of programmatic element of digital media buying is something we're exploring in our business as well, and it's a game changer.
It is a game changer,
it's
and particularly for you guys in the finance, could be an incredible game changer.
And it's nice to see how it works hand in hand with some of the more traditional media, like the LA Times, where you foundationally got your start, right? But you kind of, to reach people, you really do have to work hard in terms of surrounding them in all the kind of various fragmented media outlets that exist today. It's so much more complex than it was when we were growing up, right?
So much more complex.
How about the future of the real estate market, both not only in LA but globally? You're also engaging an international buyer or maybe a domestic buyer on an international property. I noticed a lot of your listings are outside the U.S., right? How does the international market kind of go hand in hand with the U.S. market?
The whole world is closer today. I mean, I woke up this morning and I was watching Russia, the World Cup, and I think so was the rest of the world, right? And we're all watching it at the same time. But that goes back to the beginning of time where we all got together and watched the World Cup or watched the Olympics, and the entire world surrounded themselves over watching one certain thing. Today, because of the internet and the World Wide Web and everything that's happening, that happens on a daily basis with every single aspect of life, whether it's social media and Instagram or Twitter, and all of that stuff is all bringing the world much closer. And so a client in Hong Kong or Singapore or Saudi Arabia or Dubai or London or Mexico or Colombia or anywhere are all following the same stuff and all tuning into the same stuff today. And the world is just a lot closer. We're lucky enough to have built a world-recognized brand. And it's not easy to build a business, okay? It's certainly not easy to build a brand. And we are extraordinarily humble and thrilled that we have been able to create a brand and change and disrupt a real estate business. So we're excited to bring our brand to the world and to start operating in different places. We're already operating in Mexico. We're operating in the Caribbean. We're about to start operating in Canada. We're certainly looking forward to other operations around the world, but obviously growing it nationally as well. So it's the whole world is a lot closer than it ever was before.
Let's talk about the team that you've built here, right? We talked a little bit about your core values earlier, starting with no and secondarily have fun, right? I think those are two key ingredients to building kind of a high performing team. What's kind of the mindset of teamwork here at the agency, and maybe how is that a differentiator versus some of your other colleagues in the industry?
We all share. I mean, we root each other on when one of our agents is looking for a house and needs a property. They need an off-market listing. Well, first they go to the PLS.com, but secondly they go to our own CRM system and they literally just say, "Hey, who's got this house?" And everybody starts working hard to bring you that house. There's a story I just recently heard from an outsider that an outside agent from another company was looking for a house. One of our agents went online to our system, put, "Hey, there's this outside person looking for this house." One of our agents had the house that they were looking for. They reached out to the agent that had nothing to do with the agency, okay? And that other agent realized how fast and quickly we all moved by just mentioning that other agent came and joined the agency, and one of the top agents, and he's like, "I cannot believe how fast you guys operated." And it was only because of that networking that you guys have all built in terms of working together that I was able to find this buyer a house. And he found it very quickly. And the person that posted that whole thing had nothing to do with the sale. Okay, and that kind of starts setting, the core of what we're doing. I think one of the other core values that I want to touch that I forgot, which is so important, and I just don't want to let this go in this interview pass, but it's giving back. Okay, we are lucky enough to sell homes. We're lucky enough to create things and to do amazing things, and we have to give back. A company that doesn't give back, agents that don't give back, is just unfair. We have all of our agents give back. We all build homes. We decided to give back through Give Back Homes, and to build homes. We buy a house, sell a house. Sell a house, build a house. We don't do it on a one-to-one basis. I wish we could sometimes, but we don't. And there's just some amazing people out there. Blake Andrews, the founder of Give Back Homes, is just one of those great people that's out there that gives back. And we just want to keep on doing that. And that's one of the core values that really puts the whole agency together.
That's great. Yeah, no, it's a core value we share as well. We actually have a foundation called the Guaranteed Rate Foundation that helps individuals in need to kind of get back on their feet, and it's something that really we rally around, and it's kind of a unifier.
It is a unifier
within our organization, right? You're not only shouldering a huge book of business, but you're also leading the agency, right? So how do you kind of bounce back and forth and decide where to take things on yourself versus delegating? Where do you draw that line? Right?
So one of my great clients, 10 years ago, as I was trying to think about this, said to me, "Mauricio, if you want to build a great company, you've got to hire great people. Pay for them, hire great people, let them think, let them do their thing, and that's how you're able to delegate stuff. Being a great manager, being a great salesperson, being a great leader, I think one of the major qualities that you need to have is to be able to delegate. If you try to do everything yourself, you can't do anything. And so delegating is just a quality that needs to happen and needs to be, and you need to trust in your people. I mean, we have 350 agents. I can tell you that there's not one agent out of the 350 people that I would not trust with the Playboy Mansion.
That's a big statement.
That is a big statement.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, we always say we're only as good as our weakest link, so we better not have too many weak links.
Right. No, and it underscores the importance of hiring, right, and the risks associated with a bad hire. Right?
Yeah.
Like you know, that's the most important investment you can make in your company is hiring great people.
Well, and then recognize it when you actually recognize a bad decision to get rid of that bad decision.
Let's talk about work-life balance for a minute. You know, we mentioned your lovely wife earlier, and I know you're a family man, and like many of us put family first, at least I think so, right? You know, based on what I've seen of you kind of in the media. How do you manage your time between building your business and spending time with family? Because sometimes those can be at odds, right?
Well, they are very often at odds.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's still only 24 hours in a day. I
Right.
mean, the day that we figure out how to prolong the days and make them longer, I mean, just let me know that formula, and I am all in. Okay.
Figure that out.
But my grandfather used to tell me, Mauricio, there's 24 hours in a day. There's 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours for play and family. And that's a great balance, but unfortunately, when you're building a business, that balance doesn't really, work out exactly like that way. I still need to sleep 8 hours. I'm a guy that sleeps 8 hours. I'm not going to pretend I'm one of those guys that can go on 4 hours sleep. I actually need my 8 hours of sleep. And what I don't do and what gave up is my leisure time. So my leisure time is now with my family. My leisure time is with them, and the balance is really just between. And unfortunately, what the sacrifice that I personally had in my personal life has been my friends, my personal friends. My friends are my family at the agency, and certainly then my family at home. I don't watch television. I don't relax. I don't kick back. The two sacrifices in my life that have occurred was my kickback time. The time where you just say, I just need to be a couch potato. I haven't been a couch potato in 10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So that's what the sacrifice I gave. And unfortunately, my good friends, and I call them up and I try to be there and et cetera. But that's definitely a sacrifice that has not been good and that I have lost. And that's been one of those things that I'm sad about. But that's what has had to give. And hopefully part of my, this future in terms of building this company that's now a little bit more set will allow me to have just a hair more time for friends as well.
Like Grandpa said, there's only 24 hours, right? You got to make choices. Before we jump to the audience questions, anything we didn't touch on that you wanted to kind of mention or?
No, I'm ready for some questions.
Okay,
Let's
great.
hear all this audience. Come on.
Yeah. The moment we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a question from Amanda. Amanda wants to know, what is the best way to market yourself as a first-time agent? So she's kind of just starting her.
Yeah, be super creative, Amanda. Think of something different. I can tell you, here's what I thought, and Jeff Highland is the one that showed me how to do this. But my first dad, when I was a real estate agent and I had nothing to sell, I grabbed my foot and I put the foot on the page, and I said the mark of a great real estate agent was my footprint, right? Is somebody that knows how to read between the lines. At that point, we were just beginning to go online, and I created this whole ad. It's about somebody that can read between the lines, not somebody that can just manipulate a mouse and find properties and send properties. And so I started coming out with these creative ads that I was taking out in the LA Times. And they differentiated myself from everybody else. And so really what you have to do is you have to figure out just how to differentiate yourself. I mean, how to be a little bit different. You got to find your angle. You got to find your story. You got to find something that makes you different. Don't try to be what everybody else already is. Those guys are already there. Your top agents in your marketplace are already doing, what they do, and you just need to start making small inroads into getting, and getting a few listings and selling them and making a mark for yourself, and that's what you have to do.
That's great. Thank you. We have another question from Krista, who's out in Texas, I believe. And she says, I know you're based primarily out of California, but how do you feel about the real estate market in Texas? And maybe we can broaden that question and say, are there regions of the U.S. that,
I
really
love Texas. Let me be super clear. I love Texas. I'll be in Dallas tomorrow. And we're looking at opening and moving the agency to Dallas and to Austin and to Houston. So hopefully we'll be in Houston, Austin, and Dallas very, very soon. I'll be there tomorrow. If you're in Dallas, look me up, send me a text on Instagram or on Twitter, and tell me about the market down there.
It's dynamic, as are a lot of parts of the country right now.
Yep.
Right? Question from Kristen. Your agents are a representation of you. How do you train your agents? Is there a shadowing period before they, kind of are off, kind of dealing with clients?
So the agency does not have a very good education and rookie, kind of new agent program. And, one of the things that we've done is we've gone out and it's a collaboration of some of the top agents in LA and some of the top agents in every market that we're in. We're very cautious in terms of the agents that we actually allow to enter the agency. It's not easy to get into the agency. It's like a club. You almost have to fight your way in, and it's become known that. And because of that, there's more agents that want to get into the thing. We're not about numbers. We don't care about, I go to all these seminars, to the CEO seminars, and we literally, have a sit down around a table like this, and it's 18 CEOs, and everybody introduces themselves, and the one starts and she says, I run, 18 offices and I have 5,000 agents. And the next person says, I run 13 offices and I have 2,000 agents. And the next person says, and by the time it gets to me, I'm like, who gives a shit how many agents you have? Let's talk about your market share. Let's talk about what you're doing to sell. Let's talk about, how great your agents are. The number of agents is completely unimportant. So I don't know if I answered that question, but
No, it's about throughput and results and impact.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Here's a good one from Ashley. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice when you first started the agency, what would you tell 2011 Mauricio from 2018?
I got to tell you something. I think we did everything right. We had certainty in the decisions we made, and we followed our dreams. We never had fear. We always just kept pushing forward. And I would say to myself, going back into 2011, is to have certainty and to follow your dreams and to dare to dream and to innovate and to create and to, quite honestly, I wouldn't change anything. Just do it, do it the way we did it.
That's great. Another one from Joyce. What strategy would you employ if you want to engage in marketing but you're short on funds? How would you kind of prioritize where to spend those funds?
Well, first of all, one of the beautiful things about digital marketing is that it's inexpensive, right? And so it's your Instagrams, you've got to your Twitters, your Snapchats, you've got to grow your audience, and it's not easy to grow your audience. I get that, but you've got to get out there. Being short of funds is one of the problems with real estate is that the perception is that it's a business that you can get into and then and sell and make a ton of money. Well, that's not really the case. It's a very difficult business to get into, and you actually kind of need some money in order to, and you have to think of the real estate business as still a business. You are a business. When you go and you start a In-N-Out franchise or whatever a restaurant or any manufacturing, you need to make an investment into your business in order to get money out, right? You need to buy inventory, you need to get money out. Well, in real estate, you need to make an investment into your business. You need to invest into marketing. You need to invest into advertising. You need to invest into your systems. You need to invest in a CRM system. And if you just really don't have those kind of funds, you really should look at, perhaps taking a job as an assistant, getting into real estate, trying to figure out how to build funds, doing less the rest of the time, having 2 jobs, figuring out how to bring, more funds. You cannot, the biggest problem with people in real estate, and the biggest thing that I see in failure is that the people believe that you can get into the business without having any money, run a business, and be successful. It's still a business. You don't need as much capital as some other businesses, which is the good news I have for you. You don't need as much capital as other businesses to get going, but you still need some capital.
And you have to hustle.
And you have to hustle.
Right? There's no getting around that.
Correct.
Right. Mauricio, I'm so grateful you took the time to share your story and some of these valuable insights today. Any closing remarks, advice, words of wisdom?
Dare to dream, have no fear, follow your dreams, and have fun doing it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks, man. This was truly a pleasure. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Steve.
Today.
Appreciate it.
On behalf of the Guaranteed Rate companies, thanks for joining us today on Gateless Live and taking time out of your day to invest in yourself. Gateless is the preeminent real estate coaching and development site on the planet. So take some time to poke around, explore the videos and tools on the site, and use Gateless as a resource to help grow your business. I'm Steve Moffat. Make it a great day.